Hi there, Selective Collective. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing really good. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you would like a private reading, guys, they're open. You can have one. You can have one. If you have any issues with checkout, which I hope you don't, but if you did, just email me. I've been fooling around with the Ghost Tube, just having fun. You know, that app that tells you a bunch of words? And oh my goodness, like, it started saying like crazy stuff, guys, it's talking about failure, about war, about, what did it say? It said war, it said failure, it said, okay, after that, right? So like I come in here and I burn some sage because it's freaking me out. I'm like, why are you saying all these negative things, or just pretty negative, you know, because I'm thinking about the world at this time, and I do pay attention to what's going on, you know, escalations right now definitely happening, Yemen, Israel, we still have stuff, we have stuff brewing, and so for me to see that, I got kind of scared, and I lit some sage, and then what pops up? The word rapture popped up. And if you're not familiar with the word rapture, other than it could simply be a spirit that is telling of being taken over by extreme emotion. Maybe it's that. Otherwise, the rapture is usually associated with the end times and suggests the returning of, I would call Christ consciousness, which would be in many religions. So my version is a little different, probably. So that word popped up, and then today, which, by the way, I don't want you to, it's not my prediction or anything like that. This is just something I wanted to share with you because it was interesting. I know a lot of readers here actually use that app in their readings. I'm glad I didn't that day, because you all would have been like clicking off. But then today you made it really clicked off, because then today I turn it back in and it says come inside twice, and it says demon. It said the word demon, and I was like, holy shit. Turned it off. Yeah, I turned it off, and I thought, oh goodness, so what's this about? Even if it's, I've never had that app produce those types of words with me before. I wasn't even going to share it because I was like, maybe this is too negative and I don't know if I want to share something like that. But, I mean, who knows? Stuff's going on. And I think I'm being reminded with that there's lots of things that will try to pull you off of your path. Especially when you have a light inside you and a light in your purpose, when there is a reason why you're being used. And how can you tell if you're one of these people? You see all these different videos. Oh, there's this and this and that. Not discrediting or discounting any, but quite simply, you could put it in with maybe one sentence. When you know that your happiness does not matter when it comes to the divine plan and purpose, that it's more important than your own happiness. When you feel that, and you're part of the group that's here, that's meant to be a worker of light. I think that's like flat. Doesn't mean you're never going to be happy or anything like that. But it's just to me it feels like it's a truth with a lot of people that are on this type of path. The wounded healer. Chiron. A wounded healer. So you're targeted more. Consider it flattery, actually, if you found out that you had a demon on your trail, an entity. If you're not one to believe in things like that, then you could take a look at your own psychology and maybe say that this is something kind of demonic. We could you know what I mean? There's different perspectives to look at what this energy represents, but to me, it's very specifically going to target those, one, who have been wounded, because for one thing, and so maybe there's even a goal to wound you within your life. Not that it doesn't serve any other purpose, but a wounded person is sometimes a target, or is sometimes exploited by these energies or entities. But like I said, I'm trying to break people down that have a goal, that have a purpose and a light. And I do believe everybody has one. This is a magnetic pull to step into something spiritual, somewhat of a spiritual path. And I have to watch how I even word things, because when I'm saying path, you could be working at the Marathon gas station, and I can be talking to you as a clerk that might be your job to get by here, earthly things, deal with your earthly money and things like that. But there's going to be a pull that the divine is actually leading you, that your job is chosen by the divine, and you know that because you want that in your heart, and it would pull you. Your heart you would be guided very much so by your heart. Anyway, you are the wounded healer. You're here to heal others, and so that right in itself is a very big purpose. These energies, they come and they influence other people to hurt you. From childhood on, so maybe another sign or a way to know, if you're someone that carries a special type of light because of answering the call, then you've probably dealt with situations where people have acted either extremely out of character or just a certain way, and maybe it's like, why me? Like, you never act this way with this other people. It feels like people act out of character a lot with you throughout your life, and then that would be these things. They call them demons. I call them demons too. I would call them entities. I would call them these energies that we don't see. They can whisper into family members' ears to stay away from a certain family member, or increase the level of anxiety that they have about you. Cause people to, I don't know, just cause problems, right? Cause problems. I'm just giving a different examples of how this could manifest to you. Being in a friend group, and like I said, for some reason something happens and you are treated slightly different, or something totally out of character ends up happening between the relationships. These are these energies, and yeah, they will do everything possible to dim the light of someone who has a really bright light, because you're not fighting on the same side. I mean, it's very obvious. Very obvious. Yes, there's so maybe the rise in awareness, the rise in consciousness, it does help people to be aware of more things, like such as targeting or gang stalking, things like that. Targeted for your mission. And the mission is to be completely trusting with an open heart in the Creator or in the divine for every single thing. That's where your faith and your trust lies. So you know that even your path, even your goals can change in a split second, and that would be okay. That's the plan. It's mysterious, works in mysterious ways through you. Also can perform many beautiful things through you. Let's focus on that instead of these other things, because you just have to be aware of the influence and stay protected as best as you can, or unbothered. Don't open too many portals or gateways for these things to come in. True trauma and being hurt can be like the open wound that hasn't healed. It can be an area for something to get into, but it's different than if we're opening a bunch for ourselves. Just mainly trusting in your intuition when you feel like something's off, maybe about a person, or maybe there's a pull to self-improvement all the time. Maybe that's something that honestly might be preparing. We may on a soul level be preparing for some pretty, if you've noticed that you feel maybe a more than your normal pull to or towards self-improvement and eating healthy, treating others with the ultimate love and kindness that you can. When those things are like really big priorities for you, I feel like it's because you're preparing for something to come. That's what I feel like. So you have big bad Saturn here, don't we? Saturn. Hard times, difficult choices, difficult time restriction, karmas. There is the scythe up here, so it's the big teacher in life. What is the big teacher? I would say that it's talking about suffering. Because we can learn a lot in life, but just as an example of the person who's been pretty much, you don't have to be wealthy to have a family that really takes care of every single need, all the time. Like, no, you don't even have to work. We're going to buy this for you, buy that for you, up into maybe a certain age, and you go off or go to college or something. And there are families that don't want you to do a single thing. And I'm not saying there's any right or wrong, right, parenting way, but what happens then when that person doesn't have anybody, or they're in this situation where now they don't have they don't have what they were used to. They go through a period of suffering. They would go through suffering, and then that suffering is going to be life's greatest teacher. It taught more to go without what you thought you needed to be safe, to be comfortable. It taught you more than maybe your whole lifetime of being raised because of being taken care of. That's just one example. There's lots of examples of where suffering was the thing that brought about healing in the most magnificent way possible. It's suffering is a big part of awakening, I think. It's a big part of this life, this existence. There's real consequences here, and there's real influence here too. So you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with the physical, the heavy, the dense, and the unseen influences. So we have the sap of the moon plant, which says that you are to receive the energy here of the divine feminine more than ever. I'm picking up that energy of, kind of like the Gospel of Mary that was not included in the standard Bible, like that energy coming back with compassion to be more part of the mix. If that makes sense. You may have a pull towards Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary, right? Mary of Lazarus. Why did I go blank there? Mary of Lazarus. May feel a pull towards those loving, compassionate energies, or if you work with colors, the color pink, or the violet flame, for sure. Saint Germain. This is beauty and grace, and it's receiving. So we're healing, and we're really going through some tough things right now. The world is. I don't know what's to come. I'll be honest, that energy kind of freaked me out that was coming through that little thing. The sublimation card is about taking flight and rising up. It ultimately, since I said the Gospel of Mary, the Gnostics, right? We have the Gospel of Mary telling us, Jesus telling her that there's 7 steps or secrets that you're not supposed to fight the earthly realm, that you were actually here so that you can transcend it. And he wanted to give her the secrets of how to do so. And I won't get into what those are, because honestly, that would just be like, feel too preachery for me. And I'm not really a preacher. I'm not a preachy person. I just like information. I just like the information. But so this is transcending, and it feels like transcending different times, maybe different timelines, different restrictions that have normally been placed here on us. And ultimately with Saturn, this overall heavy control that has been here, perhaps from these entity influences. Yeah, perhaps. I mean, you've heard of Baphomet. That is a prince of hell. It's like a demon, and it is like followed by the Knights Templar and so that stuff like that, that's probably not good. You know what I mean? It's probably not good. It probably, just like there's light and dark and everything, I think it was probably used, or they reached out to that type of entity for ultimate governing control. But to me, it's a real energy. Like I see how it can be really not good, and I think that this is about transcending those types of energies, not that particular group necessarily, but that's just an example of an entity that can be way too much into, like, I want to control and rule, you know. Oh, the bracelet came off. The void. It's so crazy. Okay, a lullaby came into my head. Like when the bell breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come cradle baby and all. I don't know why that came to my head, but it did when I was looking at the void. get another card on this void energy here. Interference, 8 of Swords. Interference. Can be an influence. Can be an influence. Trying to make you feel like you're empty or you're void. I'm gonna take this card a little bit different than I normally would, as saying that I understand that there is a void of infinite possibility, a place where you can go to actually be comforted, that's full of love. This is not that. This is the void that is a feeling of emptiness, of not having hope. That void is representing to me an influence that is literally trying to make you think that you're not full enough, that you're never full, that you're never satisfied. It wants you to think that you're not complete, that you're not whole, but you are. But you are. So there's nothing to fill up. You have been wounded, but now you are the healer because you've healed, or are healing, as we all are healing. There's nothing that you need to fill this up with now other than who you are. And you have to watch out for whatever makes you feel like you shouldn't be feeling a certain way. I really hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Empty. Something that makes you feel empty. Or influences obsessive thinking to direct it into state of not just acknowledge, like you can acknowledge, if you're lonely, but what I mean is something that would have you so focused on it that you had to do something, you had to fill it up. You had to replace this, as to replace the lonely thought. But the thing is that every time you try to replace, what you're trying to correct is like this thought. Like, I just don't want this thought to keep coming in my head. So then I'm going to do something. I'm going to fill up this void, right? And then you still have that thought. The thought never goes away. And I feel that there's actual influences that will always make you feel certain ways. Bad about yourself, not good enough, not pretty enough, not making enough money, too sad, exhausted, like feel bad, like all of those things that are just on repeat all the time. They come back no matter what you try to fill this thing that you call void is, because the void doesn't actually even exist because you're already whole. So thoughts are all that they're going to still be there, and that's why there's really nothing that you can consume or do that's going to adjust your thinking except for you letting the thoughts pass and not watering them. Don't water those plants. Think about the ones that reinforce how whole you are, how healed on your healing journey you are up to this point. The messages that will congratulate you for how far that you've come, that remind you that you're here for a special purpose. Listen to those thoughts. And I feel like I had to come on here and do this collective read because I think it's been happening to a lot of people. Yep. Interference. Yep. I feel like it's been happening to a lot of people. Invasion of our thoughts and our feelings. They're making things, there's energies they're trying to make you feel a certain way about yourself. Why? Because when you focus on that, even when we're hyperly focused on our own self-happiness, then we're usually thinking about the things that are not making us happy. And that means you're not thinking about the divine plan that you're such a big part of. That is one of the reasons you came here. No, the reason. The main reason. The role that you were excited to come and have, to play a part in, right? The role that you wanted. This role. Anything that they can do, any type of distraction, pulling you into darker energy. Of course, they have to feed, right? They have to feed. They're not actually living. These like demonic entities are not living. So what do they do to sustain themselves is they use your energy, because you're the one that was granted life. You've literally heard of people saying that they felt like something sucked the life out of them. Maybe even an addiction sucked the life out of you. Well, that was probably very demonically influenced too. And if you're this light worker being, then you are targeted for things like that. Depressions, several of them, anxiety, weird, odd, obscure health or chakra imbalances. I mean, so this is yes, yep. Tell me, Spirit, tell me. I'm getting response today. What am I at? 26. If I go over my time, I will just keep adding a different reel, because they're wanting me to talk about this. They're wanting me to talk about this. So I'm going to. They're literally, my guides, my angels are saying you have to be reminded. You all have to be reminded. Maybe by each other, maybe constantly. During these times, because those things get stronger the more that they're able to take from your energy, not just yours, everyone else, and we're all connected, you know. So how do you help this situation is by helping yourself first. I don't feel like that's telling you all anything new. I feel like the people that get attracted to these readings are pretty, I think you all are pretty open-minded, spiritually led people that hopefully you understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about things like darker entities and stuff like that, because I'm not trying to scare anybody away. There are times in life where we have to put on the spiritual armor, and there's times when we get to take it off and we get to relax, and they're literally telling me that right now is the time where you need to be wearing your spiritual armor. And this feeling, before this channel reading, this feeling came on about 2 to 3 days ago of extreme heaviness, and like this card says, 5 of Pentacles, worry. It wasn't just my worries, okay? I had food in my fridge, but I was feeling the worry of somebody who didn't have food very strongly. Somebody who was worried, somebody who was then they were worried, was picking up on people worried about the health problems that they were getting due to this lack of either good food, nutritious food, or lack of food altogether. And it was scary. It was such an intense emotion. That's when it first started, but there's an escalation that I feel in the world. I feel it. So I know that this is something that a lot of you all are dealing with, is mental interference, okay, by these things, by this energy that is not on the side you're fighting for. This is something that the contrast may serve its purpose in the sense that it poses quite a challenge for us here, right? And we do go through a lot of suffering, and a lot of people might say, okay, well, this is probably, a lot of it's probably needless suffering. Well, it would probably be due to these other energies. So they cause worry. They cause interference with your thinking, excessive worry, because they're trying to get you to doubt that you actually have divine inheritance. And divine inheritance, in my mind, is very similar to the law of attraction of the Secret, you know, where there's this, or Abraham, or there's this vortex and you have access to everything. Even quantum theory of, it's actually all possibility. It's all at one time are happening. So really we have access to it all. But there's this belief in order for alignment, there's this belief, right? But what is that belief? The belief is simply that you never really have anything to worry about. You are always supported by the divine. But what is required is your faith in that. Because we can become more misaligned with what we want than we really realize, just based on what we're what we tell ourselves every day here. So the main objective would be to keep you confused, the Seven of Cups. They also call this card the Spell of Seven Cups, and that means that there's all of these options to you. Don't these look great? Knowing good and well that some of those cups offer things to you that are not good, that are not going to be good for you, and they're not the best for you, but the goal is to kind of keep you choosing really poorly for yourself, so that each time there's some sort of either consequence. And this is also producing an energy from you too, the Seven of Cups, being in this type of confusion. Ultimately goes back to, then it's food and then it's control. It's keeping that energy alive. Or, you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? So this is when we're not seeing clearly, or our emotions have been messed with, confused. The Emperor. I have the Eight of Discs. And I have the Five of Wands. Strife. Competition. The Eight of Discs says mastery. I mean, it looks like a fight to see who's going to rule you. Who's going to, like, what are you going to allow to control or give authority over the things that you speak, you say, you do? Is it going to be you? Are you going to be the author of your own authority here? With your faith, with your trust in this plan. You have skill sets, and abilities here. I look at this Eight of Discs as service to others, also as being why you were given certain gifts and abilities. It's to help people and yourself. Oh, you definitely have the Five of Wands is when it's not being made easy. It's not being made easy. There's distraction. So distraction, loss of focus. And we have all of the elements represented here. We have distraction, confusion, worry, and mental interference. Why? Because you're supposed to be in your role as the person making strategic boss moves with yourself in your life, because you have mastery level and you have work here to do. You have a big cup of love here waiting for you also with the Ace of Cups. So, something new. Something new with spring could have come out of a period of great isolation, isolating yourself. You could have found yourself in a circumstance where you swore God literally figured out a way to get you isolated, or to make sure that there was something, if you had to work on it, that you were given the ability to work on it. It's preparation for what's to come. Something beautiful is blooming and is coming here with spring. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Silver, being refined like fine silver. That's what your Creator does for you. It removes all the impurities in our life, and it makes us refined like silver. Signs and synchronicities letting you know something new is coming, something is on the horizon. The silver card is, it can talk about luxuries, divine feminine. The rotation and the void, that's a pattern. The rotation is a pattern. It could be any kind of pattern or behavior or something that we've done over and over. I think it's tied to this void energy. I think it's tied to this feeling of, I have to do something to, at least to replace something, either a feeling or the way we're thinking. And ultimately it doesn't end up doing that. And so it just becomes a repeat, because there's no completion with the rotation card. There's no completion. It just keeps going around. The same thing will keep happening. The same thing keeps happening. Slightly different scenarios, maybe different locations, maybe different people. But there's no conclusion to this, because this wasn't the answer. It's the dog chasing its tail. Going round and round. Tell me more about rotation. So you are being given advice here from the Blue Temple, from heaven, about how to get out of this darkening energy. So you can have luxury in life, the Copper card. This can represent a dark period in life that we've had to go through over and over and over. This, in the reverse, says there's something about accepting some type of divine vision that you may be having for yourself. It is like celestial help from the heavenly realms, and it's like asking, will you accept the inspiration and the divine guidance from heaven, from above. My battery's low. Okay. That's your race low. I will pull from the Shaman's Dream next to see maybe some advice on this too, other than what they've already given. Eventually the crow lifts off of this coiled energy here that's repressed, or doesn't, like when we feel like we don't have any energy, or we don't feel really like our soul is expansive. We feel rather pushed, like in a dark corner, for whatever circumstance. It gets released, and then the wisdom is released. The pearl is here too, something gained from what you've gone through. The heaviness does get released. I feel like it's associated with doing something in a different way, isn't it usually, though, with the rotation? And so you're definitely an earth angel, a light worker. Number 19 is falling angel, spiritual narcolepsy. It's interesting, it flew right over the Five of Pentacles, which, if you forgot who you were and why you were here, just imagine how the grandeur of an angel, of the essence of an angel, when expanded, when in spirit form. So if you've forgotten that, you've forgotten how beautiful and wonderful and high vibe naturally you are, you may worry about things here. You may forget that there's no need to worry, and that there's something that only you can do here the way that you do, and so you're divinely protected. Everything about your life existence is protected because of this. And there's no need to worry. There's just a forgetting of that here. I have dances on one foot, the balancing act. Garden of Venus, rest and renewal. So this is about finding that balance in life, right? Balance in whatever area, all areas, as best as we can. We try. Right, the Garden of Venus here, rest and renewal. Something about recovery for you. Recover. Soul retrieval also for some that might resonate. Look at this beautiful blue. Oh yeah. This is representing spiritual healing for me. The beautiful turquoise jewelry that you see like at Native American or Indian reservations around here. They're just gorgeous. So seeing healing and protection. Will-o'-the-wisp. Treasures are hidden in the shadows with 62 and 61 resonating. They're just one after the other, you know, resonating. Through your heart space. Crown games, right use of power. The right use of power. I have stranger with curiosity. And the farther gate, a bold step forward. Looks like the crown is shifting. The crown will be shifting. Especially in matters of this control. Curiosity with stranger. That's interesting. And then the farther gate, one bold step forward. 55. It talks about major changes. So does this card here on the bottom. Major changes because it's 55, but also it's there's a new landscape to experience here. Not just new perspective, there's a new chapter to your plan opening up for you. The Woodwives with adaptability is bending and flexing and weathering through the storms, right? Staying in place and maybe growing in new areas too. This does say something good is coming, but there's going to be a need to be adaptable. That was a message in many of these readings, these collective readings, is about, a lot of them have been about adaptability. And things could change any minute, like any moment. Tell me about the stranger. Tell me about the stranger. Oh. Ooh. Now they're just wanting to have fun with this reading, I guess. I have 2, the flamingos, soulmates, lovers, union, courtship, dating, attraction, seduce, long-term potential, display of affection, charm, it factor, 2 of a kind, and alluring. And then the bedroom, sexual fulfillment, intimacy, sensual pleasure, love affair, sleep, contentment, nap, oasis, retiring, dream time, astral travel, and call it a day. So this might be somebody, yeah, that you haven't met. Yep. Wow, I have so many 6s. Keep your thoughts balanced during maybe shifts with love and romance and relationships. Curtain call says acclaim, fame, recognition, parade in the spotlight. The flag says achievement, recognition, overthrow, like the crown game, overthrow. There is going to be, it feels like, an overthrow of this power in conflict here. 50-50, things could go either way. Oh, I said in my last channel reading, one of the ones about, was it 2 weeks ago? The message that they were giving me was like, when the scales tip a little bit over 50-50 is when you're going to notice some big time changes into what we call the 5th dimension, what I think is associated with second coming prophecies, and I think it's all tied together, but that's my theory. But anyway, they said something about that, so that might be talking about percentage. That would be a good sign. Have the sap, another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 6s. Resources, needed materials, flow, wealth, the essence of life, spring, abundant, life force, eyeglasses, evaluate your options, perspective, review, seeing clearly, awareness, and focus. This is an event that is happening soon. It will develop. It says happening soon. This situation or event in question will develop or unfold very soon. Then the bonfire, enthusiasm, energy, heated, intense, joy, ignite, passion, ecstasy, exhilaration, sharing ideas, getting things going, orgasm, fanaticism, fever, fierce. "17. The quality of work you produce when you're going at it alone is almost unbelievable. You are as independent as you are ambitious, capable of performing every step of the way. With efficiency, focus, and skill, I am independent. Master number 33, any positive changes or projects you are considering right now will be well worth your while. Expect your power to manifest and create will be heightened. I'm expanding." Master number 33. And then I have 88. You're on the cusp of a prosperous, abundant spiritual life. You will find numerous opportunities for success and achievement, all of which will bring financial and material abundance into your life. I am wealthy. So that's what I've got for you today. Appreciate you being here. Much love and light.